Welcome back as our news continues tonight. The new Miss Kentucky was crowned on Saturday, and tonight she is planning to serve a special group by using her new title.
WKYT's Carly Hoxton shows us how this year's winner is expressing the special place in her heart for the ones who serve our country.
The new Miss Kentucky, Tinius, is the granddaughter of two World War II veterans, so she is making sure that through this adventure, she will continue to support Kentucky's military and veterans.
When I was 4 years old, I would go on walks with my grandfather. When I would reach up for his hands, I would instead find metal hooks that were due to an injury during World War II. And so that is what ignited my community service initiative, and it is so important that we take care of our veterans here in the state of Kentucky.
Tinius serves veterans nonstop, from her job at the VA to working the Carry the Load and Honor Flight, which she hopes to continue to support during her time as Miss Kentucky.
A veteran is someone who writes a blank check to the United States of America for an amount up to and including their life. So anything that we can do to say thank you is something that is so vital, especially in our community today.
She says she loves to use her talents, like playing some good old bluegrass on her fiddle, to bring joy to the veterans.
Everyone has a unique gift that they were given, and sometimes you have to look outside of the box to see how you can use that. But the most important thing you do is use your gifts to serve others.
In Lexington, Carly Hoxton, WKYT.
Well, I don't know Chapel, but I saw her at the Honor Flight 5K just a few weeks ago, and I could tell how passionate she was about veterans, about that organization. So certainly
that comes
gonna
through.
Carry through, yeah.
Heather French Henry.
Absolutely, does harken back to that.
It does. It reminds you of her platform and her service as Miss America.